Hey everybody, Emily Mayer here, host of Breathe Hope Vote through the Arena SC, South Carolina's only progressive media company. Make sure you are subscribing, consider it a paid subscription to make sure that you are getting all of our up-to-date content. Here with me this week for this week's interview is JR Taylor. JR, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Emily. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. JR is running for the South Carolina House of Representatives District 38 as a Democrat, which for those of you who don't know is in the upstate region. I'll let JR tell us a little bit more about what specific area. But JR, tell us about you and what type of candidate you hope to be.
That's a wide open question, right? So first, I want to cover the area. It's the northern part of Spartanburg County. It covers east to Paris Bridge Road, south to Clark Road. In the top part of Boiling Springs, includes Landrum, Campobello, Inman, all the unincorporated areas, and parts of Chesney. So me as a candidate, I hope people take away that I want to represent every single person in this district. I want to be as open and transparent and blunt and honest as I can be, because I think that's the kind of representative that these voters deserve, and it's certainly not the kind of representative they've had.
Absolutely. I love that. So, for those who maybe aren't as up to date on who currently holds seats at the State House, House District 38 is currently held by Josiah Magnuson, who is arguably the most controversial sitting member of the House. And I say sitting because it could have been Adam Morgan, but now we know he's lost his congressional race and he is no longer sitting at the South Carolina State House. So I would make the argument that Josiah is the most controversial elected official that we currently have in the South Carolina State House. And JR is the person running against him. So what motivated you to take him on and jump in this race?
So my story is very non-traditional. I am one of the people that may have heard stories about who got a random text message the Good Friday before Easter, which was the last business day before filing deadline at noon on Monday. And they said, "We have an empty seat. We need a candidate." I'm like, "Against who?" And they're like, "Josiah Magnuson." And I was like, "Oh, I hate that dude. I'm in. Let's talk about this." So when he first got elected, I had a phone conversation with him. I called him directly and I talked to him about my concerns, and he completely blew me off. And ever since then, I'm like, okay, this dude he's just not going to listen. He doesn't care. He has his own motives, his own agenda, and he has not a single concern for the voters who are actually in this district. 10%, this teeny tiny little sliver who believes what he believes, but that's it. So my campaign started off very much on a whim. Not that I'm unprepared or didn't consider what this meant and how much work this was going to be, because definitely I did. I asked a million questions over that weekend before taking this on, and reached out to the county party like within an hour after filing, right? So I mean, I jumped right in, but this was not on my bingo card for 2024. Running for State House was not on my bingo card. My dad passed away last year, and I called my mom before I agreed to run. And I asked her, I said, "What do you think Dad would say?" And we both agreed. He would kind of shake his head and go, "Okay, you're gonna make the best of this." And he's right. I am.
I love that. And I think it's important for folks to know the reality of what led to the genesis of this campaign, right? I think every candidate has a different path. And so you said it wasn't on your 2024 bingo card. Was it on your radar to ever run for office in general? Or was this really like, oh, somebody asked me and somebody's got to do it, so I'm going to do it? Was this something that maybe you were considering in the future for yourself?
So short answer, yes, it is something I had considered. I want to address this somebody needs to do it thing, because that has been my role my entire life. When other people see something wrong, they complain about it and they talk to their neighbors, but they don't make the calls, they don't take the actions to get the results. And that has always been what I do for my neighbors, my family, my friends. And so getting that question posed to me, we need a candidate, can you do this? I'm like, well, of course I can. As far as running for office, I've mostly focused on, city or county council races where I've lived in other places. Have certainly eyeballs that in South Carolina, where I am now. Not saying that that's not still somewhere in the radar, somewhere further out. But I have never run a campaign before. I was elected on a single write-in vote. That was not a write-in campaign. Somebody said, you're going to be good at this. And it ended up in a tie. We had to cast lots from this weird leather bag. This is in another state. They had a very ornate process to it. My lot was the winner and I took office. So it was a very interesting way to get a state position. But yeah, this is my first actual campaign, digging in deep.
Yeah, and you said, and I can confirm this to be true, just because you signed up kind of at the last minute because you were asked does not mean that you have not put thought into this. You are somebody who, in my time getting to know you, is very intentional and very thoughtful and wants to really, plan as far ahead as possible. So looking at Josiah as your opponent, kind of draw the contrast for folks between you and him, other than the fact that he holds really extreme conservative views and you do not. What and you kind of touched upon this, right? He wasn't reflective of the conversation that you've had in any of the decisions that he's made. But how does that contrast to who you are and the type of leader you know yourself to be?
In very short words, we could not be more different. You're right. I am not extreme in any of my views. I wanted to get a very clear grasp on what my views were when I first started this campaign. So I took all the tests and all the questionnaires and mapped myself out like a dozen.
Goes back to being overly prepared. I love it.
I really am. I mean, I come by that honestly. We joked since I was a child that my ideal job is filling out IRS forms, and conveniently, that is now what I do for a job. So, among other things, I have multiple clients. But yeah, I mean, I do plan to a fault almost. I want to be extremely prepared. I want to know what comes 3 years out, not this year. And that is one of Josiah's faults and where we differ. He focuses on the right now, the politics of the national administration, and whether or not he wants to take their money to fix our roads. Well, can we stop fixing roads 1 year at a time? Can we maybe develop a 15-year plan? Because people aren't going to stop moving here. Businesses aren't going to stop moving here. Can we please prepare for our growth? And for me, that absolutely includes zoning regulations and erosion control and things that I saw it was the beach, but the governor's still vetoing things like erosion control. And I just, please stop. Can you stop hurting our state? We need green spaces and community meeting spaces, and this district is so different from the ones that include parts of Spartanburg because we don't have those big community events where people get together. We have small community events, but it's still really hard for neighbors to just talk to each other. And I honestly think that is housing developers by design. They do not want us talking about all the problems that we're facing. And the housing developers are heavily contributing to Josiah's campaign. No surprise there. He's against everything that I stand for. I want bodily autonomy for everyone. And he has been very vocal in his efforts to undermine all of that. He joined the signing on the banning for gender affirming care at Spartanburg First North Church. He wanted to sentence women to the death penalty first for having an abortion. Yeah. Now he's still beating the drum, trying to use the murder and assault charges that exist in our state laws to sentence women to prison for 2 years. No conversations about punishment for men, because he doesn't want to punish them. He doesn't want to take their rights away. He just wants to take the rights from women away. And I really question, now that he gets to go back to the state house without Adam Morgan there, he's primed to be the next president of the Freedom Caucus. And when he's done taking away women's reproductive freedoms and their health freedoms, what next? Does he go after our right to vote? Because it's a genuine concern for me that he's not done with his attack on women.
Yeah. I say, anyone who pays attention at the State House knows that that is what he is best known for. My husband, who doesn't even really follow what happens at the State House, knows that that's what he is best known for. So you are going to have people across the state hear this interview and say, oh, I don't live anywhere near District 38, but man, that guy, he just really gets under my skin. So that is, the benefit of 2024 and the world that we live in and the state that we live in now is that folks are paying attention to races in other parts of the state because these people have become so extreme and so chaotic.
And those people in other parts of the state are affected by the antics that Josiah pulls in the State House.
100%.
You and I talked, and we know that they eventually got the bill passed regarding the realignment with ZHEC. So not the one that split it, but the one that our governor said was the single most important piece of legislation that our Congress could pass the entire year. And Josiah got up on the last day of the regular session, and he
the last hour. It was like right at the very end.
Threw himself an absolute pity party on the State House floor, complaining about how he'd been treated. What I will not do ever, if I am elected, is waste our legislative time. We have a part-time legislature, and we do not have time for pity party. Do it outside, do it on your own time, hold a press conference. We don't care. But he's affecting not just District 38. He is affecting every single person in this state.
So J.R. Taylor will never take the well of the South Carolina State House and throw herself a pity party. That's what I just heard.
Absolutely not. Yes. Not a chance.
Very good.
I don't care what they do to me while I am there. You will never see me throw a temper tantrum in the State House. That is ridiculous.
I couldn't agree more. So talking about the dynamics at play at the State House, we know that Democrats are in the super minority there. And we know that in order to get things done, there will have to be some form of collaboration in order to move the needle in a way that benefits the people of South Carolina. So can you share with folks a time that you have had to collaborate, that you have had to work together with people that when the odds were stacked against you to get things accomplished, to see that end goal come to fruition? Tell me a little bit about that.
Emily, I want to keep this short, but just know that my entire lifetime has been odds stacked against me. I did not start challenging and advocacy work as an adult. I started as a middle schooler, so I have always seen walls and never asked, do I need to turn around? I have always asked, how do I break this down? How much dynamite do I have to use? Because a wall is never going to be the stopping point. So knowing that, it's not that I'm a brute. It really comes down to my ability to cheer both sides, come to a logical and just solution for everyone involved. And then I am extremely persuasive. I really am. I was in sales for a number of years. I sell law enforcement equipment, so not an industry that many people know much about, but I worked for Code 3. There was a competitor named Federal Signal, and there was a police department that had been loyal federal customers for over 45 years. And I told my boss, I said, I'm going to go talk to them. And he's like, good luck. They're not going to let you in the door. And I was like, we'll see. And so instead of going to the administration building and talking to the chief of police, I followed a guy to the garage and I talked to them about how many problems they were having and how many failures they were having and how they were having problems exchanging warranty equipment with Federal. And I said, can I offer you a solution? And they were like, you have one? And I said, yes, I do. And I will give you 5 cars worth, every single product you need for free for 6 weeks. At the end of 6 weeks, if you hate everything about it, we will pay your labor for the install and removal, and we will take every single item back. No harm, no foul. Just, can I give you some things to try? That resulted in a $300,000 order. They flipped their entire department in one move, which is very atypical. Usually, they're going to replace 6 to 8 cars a year, and it's a trickle, right? But being willing to solve their problem was more important to them than how quickly or how slowly they changed that department. So, you know, I take things like that, and people are like, but that has nothing to do with the state house. Okay, let me give you a scenario everybody has experienced. I landed in the emergency room here in Spartanburg County with no health insurance. I had a very unique medical situation that honestly took them by surprise. It took 16 hours in the ER to figure out. And I walked out of that hospital with an $80,000 bill. And I was terrified. I was out of work. This was March 6th. So just a few days before COVID shut down our state. And I negotiated that bill down to $300.
Wow.
That is something everybody faces, but not everybody knows how to do. And it doesn't make me better. It makes me the voice for people who need that voice, right?
Right.
That's what I want to do at the state house for everybody with all their problems.
Yeah. It sounds like you have a lot of lived experience that might reflect more so the voters of your district than maybe Josiah does. May I be so bold as to state that out loud. All right. Biggest surprise on the campaign trail, something you maybe weren't expecting, something that you thought might be difficult but is surprisingly easy, or vice versa. Give us the lowdown of what it's like to be a candidate out on the campaign trail in Spartanburg in 2024.
Okay. First, I had absolutely no idea how difficult this district would be. And I say that with a lot of love in my heart for everybody who lives here. But one, we were redistricted in 2022, so we've lost a portion that could have been allies. Darn. But in my research, and I know you're chuckling in the back of your head because you're like, this is what you're researching. You're not like out campaigning. You're not door knocking. You're researching. Yes, I'm researching because when I started this, it was I'm the first Democratic name on a ballot since 2008, which is true.
And that's huge for your community to not have had choice on their ballot for so long, whether they identify as Democratic or not.
But then I dug into it further, and I can't find a Democratic holder in this district all the way back to 1974. Everybody has been Republican. And many of those races were when nobody had a name on a ballot. That's not to say they didn't have a choice. Write-ins are always an option. But there's a difference when you have a candidate and you can get behind them. So I'm coming into this race not with an established groundwork. I'm going to be the groundwork for somebody. I think is the step this is, because it has been so long since this district has had a name and a face and some real hope of being able to elect a Democratic representative here.
Absolutely. And so if folks want to learn more about J.R. Taylor and support you in your race, whether they live in District 38 or not, where can folks go to learn more about you?
So I do have a website. It is votejrtaylor.com. I am on X, Facebook, Instagram. The only thing I'm not on is TikTok and Threads, right? That was a step too far for me. But my website also has my cell phone number directly on it. If people want to ask me a question, I have never shied away from directly answering.
I love that. We need more elected officials not afraid to be directly contacted by the people that they represent. You have attested to that. Plenty of other folks have attested to that, and I know that to be true as well. JR, thank you so much.
I don't send them to voicemail first. I don't wait to hear what they want to ask me. You're
going to take it. 100% going to take the risk.
Whatever you want to say, let's have at it. If Josiah calls me directly, I will answer the phone. I will take whatever he wants to dish out. The importance of the election means I deserve to be here. I have a right to be here, and I'm going to continue to be here in this race. There are no scare tactics that are going to make me back down. So dish it out. I'm ready.
I appreciate that, because I know I know that it can be a little daunting in certain areas against certain folks. And so I love that we have someone fearless and bold, ready to step up and let their community know that it doesn't have to just be the way that it's been. I love that so much. Thank you so much for stepping up to run and answering that text message and putting your name on the ballot. Thank you for joining us today. That was J.R. Taylor. I'm Emily Mayer, the host of Breathe Hope Vote through the Arena SC. Subscribe, and we'll see you next time.